This meeting's called to order. 6 p.m., September the 14th, 2015. I'd like to ask Rick Jordan to lead us in prayer.
Shall we pray? Our Father and our God, we are so thankful for the many blessings that are ours, especially, dear Lord, the gift of life. Lord, we thank you for your goodness and your grace to us. Lord, we thank you that we live in a land that's free, where we can gather as elected officials representing our citizens and do this freely and openly. And Lord, we pray that you would lead and guide in this meeting this evening. Help us, Lord, not only to do those things which are right, but in doing them, help us to know what is right. And Lord, we pray that those things we do will be beneficial to our citizens individually and to our community as a whole. And Lord, we do pray that our actions be pleasing in thy sight, and we might find favor with thee. Forgive us where we failed you, for we ask it in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Roll call.
Joey McCarthy.
Here.
Brandon Thomas.
Here.
Rick Jordan.
Here.
Amanda Willows. Here. Tom Brandenburg.
Present.
Let the record show all members present. Also present Mayor Bart Jeton, City Attorney David Hamilton, and City Secretary Kara Hubbard taking the minutes.
I'd like to turn it over to Chief Birch.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the council, I've got a small presentation to make before we start this council meeting. We had a incident occur the other day that I think we need to recognize an officer on. I'm going to read this short letter I made to go with the presentation. Officer Journey. Mayor Jeton, Mayor Pro Tem Jordan, City Council. On Sunday, September 6, 2015, at about 11:18 a.m., Officer David Jernigan of Reno Police Department was called to assist Paris EMS and first responders at an address in Reno regarding an unknown medical call with an open 911 line. Upon Officer Jernigan's arrival with EMS and first responders, it was evident the call involved a hostile male subject that had just attempted suicide and called 911. The subject in question was combative, tried to flee Jernigan and other personnel by running into his house and shutting the door. Jernigan, then by himself, pursued the man, breached the door, and was able to maintain control of the situation, which resulted in the man being treated at a hospital. Officer Jernigan did this while being the only law enforcement officer on scene, and his backup arrived a few minutes later. As a result of this call and Jernigan's response, I received an email from Paris EMS paramedic supervisor Russell Thrasher, who also responded to the call and was on scene. In his email, he described Jernigan as being excellent on the call, took control of the situation, stayed calm. What could have turned out to be a justified officer-involved shooting turned out with everyone being safe and the patient being transported to the hospital only with his own self-inflicted injury. His self-control and professionalism saved not only our life and his life, but the patient's as well. He deserves and has mine and Paris EMS highest level of respect and appreciation. While actions of law enforcement go almost completely unnoticed many times, except during those times of potential misconduct, it is instances such as these that make us all feel safe knowing the community have persons willing and capable of this type of response while serving their community. As the Chief of Police, I'm real proud to have hired Officer Jernigan. I'm proud that he's made Reno his place to call duty. And with that being said, I'd like to give him the short, small token of my appreciation in the city. Appreciate you.
1 Corinthians 11:1. 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 1 Corinthians
Stand up.
This way, this way.
Yes, I'm on.
Yay.
Good job.
Good job.
You may help carry on.
Thank you, David. That's good work.
Yeah, right.
Appreciate you.
I don't think there's anybody signed in, is there? Nobody signed in, so.
Nobody signed in. I'm going to skip down to item 7, budget workshop. Council to discuss proposed budget for fiscal year 2015-2016.
You can disregard the last page that's on there because that's crime control and it's already been adopted, but this was uploaded into the software, so it's just attached in there because it's just the full budget. The chief of police and the public works supervisor both reviewed theirs to make sure what was uploaded was what was discussed and decided on. Yes, he said that he had budgeted for it. Yeah.
Including extra 12.15. Including extra 12.15.
He said he had budgeted that.
Okay.
Close enough. Because they were trying to, you don't really know what it's going to be anyway.
Did we change anything on these permits?
On the,
I know we talked about it, but this doesn't reflect it though, does it?
on the, like building permits and,
Right.
yeah, we upped the electrical and plumbing a little bit anyway to begin with because we were
Right.
talking about going to change them, so
So this does.
they are, it reflects a little bit of increase in there, yeah. Plumbing was 600 and went to 1,000, and the electrical was 500 and went to 1,000.
Anybody have any questions?
Public hearing, you have to open and close it, even if there's no notice. Take the time, I'll close it and close.
Move on. We'll move on to item 8. Open a public hearing to discuss and take action on the City of Reno's proposed budget for fiscal year 2015-2016. Opening the hearing at 6:12 p.m.
Nobody signed up? Oh, did you want to say?
There's not a signature on it. Come on.
That's the way to do it. Cancel and go ahead and close it.
There's no one present to discuss or take action, so we're going to close the public hearing. Move on to item 9, business, discuss, take action on A, adoption of ordinance number 333, making appropriations for the 2015-2016 fiscal year budget.
Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 333 to make appropriations for the 2015-26 year fiscal year budget.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Councilmember Jordan to adopt the ordinance number 333, seconded by Councilmember McCarthy. We'll have to do a record vote. Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas? Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Brandenburg? Let the record show that all are in favor. We'll move on to item B, property tax rate for 2015-2016 fiscal year.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion where we move the property taxes to be increased by the adoption of tax rate of 0.4125. And of that, 0.2875% is for M&O and 0.125% is for interest and INS.
I second.
Councilmember McCarthy voted in favor, or made a motion to move the property tax to be increased by adoption rate of 0.4125. Of that, 0.2875% is for MO and 0.125% is for IS. Seconded by Councilmember Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Item C, ratify the property tax revenue increase reflected in the 2015-2016 fiscal year budget.
Mayor, I move that we ratify the property tax revenue increase reflected in the 2015-2016 fiscal year budget.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Jordan to ratify the property tax revenue increase reflected in the 2015 fiscal 16 fiscal year budget, seconded by Councilmember Willows. All in favor? Item D, adoption of ordinance number 436, levying ad valorem taxes for the 2015-2016 fiscal year.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 436, levying the ad valorem taxes for the 2015-2016 fiscal year.
I second.
Have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy to adopt the ordinance 436 and seconded by Councilmember Thomas. All in favor? Item E, transfer ownership and maintenance of the Union Grove Cemetery to the city of Reno.
There's supposed to be a gentleman showing up, and if there's any way that the mayor would like to move on and hold that item.
Okay, with the absence of the person that's coming to speak, we'll move on to item F. Amendment to the 2014-2015 fiscal year budget and authorization for the purchase of bunker gear in the amount of $6,658.95 and thermal imaging camera in the amount of $6,240 for the Reno Volunteer Fire Department.
Council, in your package has all forwards in there. This will finish out our operating budget for this year. Like I said, we usually wait for the last month or two if we do, just to ensure if we have any issues that arise throughout the year that we have money to take care of it. What this will do is buy us 2 sets of full bunker gear. We'll buy some wildland gear, and then we'll replace our thermal imaging camera that's about 10 or 12 years old. As the memo says in the packet, I will have to move a little bit from one account to the other, so it all balances out.
And that's the budget amendment on the second page there. It shows where the money's being moved and
Is that for 2 sets?
2 sets of bunker gear. We'll buy 1 extra pair of gloves and extra minutes, so it's just 2 hours we use most of it. We're not doing something that's fun.
And the guys that you're buying this for, they've been with you for a minute.
I'll have to ask you one question. I see that right? It's almost $700 for a charger.
That's not.
Must be a good charger.
The one we bought 12 years ago was about $14,000. So this is actually half the price of the majority of the ones on the market. So it's a good camera. Everything, the batteries are unusually high. Anything with emergency service is unusually high.
And all those cameras you're using for rescue?
We use it for search and rescue inside house fires. If you have a wreck or something with an ejection or a missing person, we also use it to search if somebody calls and has a smell of smoke in the house. Instead of tearing up their house, we can locate it if it's in the wall, blind or something like that. Saves the citizens some money, so we don't tear up too much stuff. The bunker gear has a lifespan of 10 years. In 2005, we had a grant through FEMA. We purchased 10 sets. So now we're into that 10 years, so we have to replace it. It's a liability issue. If somebody was to get hurt, we'll make sure our gear's within standards and certified.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to amend the 14-15 fiscal year budget for authorization of the purchase of bunker gear in the amount of $6,658.95 and a thermal imaging camera in the amount of $6,240 for the fire department, Reno Volunteer Fire Department.
I'll second.
We have a motion to accept the amendment to the 2014-15 fiscal year to authorize the purchase of bunker gear and a thermal imaging camera, seconded by Councilmember Willows. Motion by Councilmember McCarthy. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item G, amendment to the 2014-2015 fiscal year's budget and approval of the geotechnical investigation for the new Public Works building in the amount of $3,830 as reflected in the cost estimate from ETTL Engineers and Consultants Incorporated.
What was that going to come out of?
We're taking, that budget amendment's going to be from employee health because there's,
Overage?
yeah, overage on that line, and then move it over into the, set up a new line for buildings. And this is for them to come out with Joey, you want to talk to him?
Yeah, this is just the first step to try to get us going on this building. We kind of, this will let us know what kind of building we can build, what kind of slab we can pour. Once we get this done, then we can go on with designing this building and go forward.
What do they look for? Just like where how high the water table is, or where the rock layer?
We've got, if anything buried in the ground, it's going to cause the slab to something to be unstable. We'll just come out and they're going to have several different spots out here for them to drill, just to kind of make sure we can put it where we want to put it.
A soil sample, more or less.
Try to find someone local when we really don't have any luck with that.
And this did not have to be a bidded item, did it? I don't think.
No.
Mr. Mayor, I move to amend to the 2014-2015 fiscal year's budget and approval of the geotechnical investigation for the new Public Works building in the amount of $3,830 as reflected in the cost estimate from ETTL Engineers and Consultants Incorporated.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Thomas to approve the amendment to the 2014-15 fiscal year budget, approval of the geotechnical investigation for $3,830 as reflected in the cost estimate from ETTL Engineers and Consultants, seconded by Councilmember Jordan. All in favor?
Aye.
Item H, invoice dated 9/7/15 from Arbornaut Tree Care in the amount of $150 for the grinding of 3 stumps at Pine Mill near Wellington Point.
Is that right there on the corner, on that curve?
It was right in the middle of the ditch, making a natural dam there. And then there was some up the road in the ditch, right against it.
My question, Jerry, and first of all, this went out for bid, right?
No.
You didn't get any bids on it?
I did get a bid on it, yes.
Okay.
From just one person.
Okay. Well, did you award it to them, that person?
Well, I told them, yeah, I guess I did. I told them to go ahead and do it when they could get to it.
Okay. Mr. Attorney, do we have any problem here since we told someone they had the job and someone else did that job? Is there going to be any kickback to the city on this? Yeah. I don't think.
It's potential, but it's minimal. It's minimal. Yeah. As you know, the more money's involved, the more people want to litigate. So, $150, $200, it's a minimal thing, I think.
I mean, it had been asked to do it in like May, and never got around to it. September.
Still want to do it or what?
I think it's done.
I think I talked to him actually in July, but
Is it this guy or?
no, it was another contractor. He just hadn't got to it.
Oh,
I mean,
well, I would think he
He
would
got
have had
done.
ample time. If it was May.
Wet.
Well, yeah, wet.
Man, it hadn't been.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
bottom line, it got done, so.
How much was it for?
I think it was about the same amount, maybe. He may have quoted a little bit more. It was $150, $200 somewhere in there, which is really reasonable, no matter which one did it.
Have you told the first guy that the job's been done? Did you forget about it?
Yeah, I talked to him.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the invoice dated 9/7/15 for Arbornaut Tree Care in the amount of $150 for the grinding of 3 stumps at Pine Mill and Wellington Point.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve the invoice to Arbornaut Tree Care for $150 for the grinding of 3 stumps near Wellington Point, by Amanda Willows, seconded by Tom Brandenburg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Water and sewer lines on Airport Road as stated in ordinance number 265.
Do you want me to talk, or do you want to talk?
You probably know more than I did at this point.
Except there's
The
nothing.
the surveyor that had been, the engineer was talking to has since closed his business and passed, which is a sad. But Brandon Cheney is available in Tyler with Velvin and Weeks. Just talking with him, he just got back in country this morning and back at work. So he's going to be able to go out and survey and find out where we can be, so there'll be something by the next council meeting. The people that are still interested in it asked that it be on here. They had a family emergency. She called this afternoon, just a couple hours before the meeting, and said that they weren't going to be able to make it, but they still wanted to be sure that, you know, we're moving forward, and they're still very interested in wanting to find out the situation for the water and sewer out there.
So it's just kind of on hold.
Yeah, well, now
More
that we've
action.
got somebody back in to, yeah, it's just more of an update, and they wanted to just be sure that it was still moving forward, and it was, but we had talked to a surveyor to go out and do it, and then things happened, and so now we have another surveyor.
Right.
No action. Be no action on item I this time. Item J, redesignation of truck routes in accordance to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Traffic and Vehicles, Section 12.04.001, trucks bearing heavy loads restricted, parking trucks or trailers on street, and consideration of a bond.
Mayor and City Council, in your package, you'll see a letter I typed briefing you on the situation on Mount Olive Road. Also attached to that is a copy of the city ordinance currently that's in the ordinance book, along with some research myself and the attorney have done on this issue, trying to come up with some sort of solution to the problem. There's a dirt pit that opened up just outside of our ETJ on County Road 42600, which is also Pine Mill Road, east of the city limits. Since it opened probably 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. How long do you think the dirt pic's been open? Spring.
Early spring.
Something like that. There's been dump trucks, gravel trucks, up and down Monologue Road. It started off 1, 2 trucks here and there. Now it's pretty constant flow of trucks up and down Monologue Road. What they're doing is they're coming down 82, cutting up Mount Olive Road, using Mount Olive as a shortcut to get to Pine Mill, go outside the city limits to the dirt pit, load, come back through. And as a result, they're tearing up Mount Olive Road. Mount Olive's just not built for that kind of traffic. A dump truck here and there wouldn't be bad, but with the volume of dump trucks that's on there, it's getting to be a problem. I know Public Works has been monitoring also because of repairs. The city just repaired that street 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah,
It hadn't been too long. It's been since I've been around here. We need a resolution to it. I kind of need some direction where to go. What do we want to do with the ordinance? David, if you want to chime in on what your opinion is of the truck route issue, the ordinance and all that.
When a couple of years ago codified all of the ordinances and put them in now in just an ordinance book, so truck routes now are under Article 12. And if you look in that particular ordinance, there are no truck routes designated in our code of ordinances. It's not in there. When this came up, the chief sent me this old ordinance, which I think you have a copy of. And when I researched this, here's what it looks like to me. At the very top of an ordinance, there's what's called the preamble, that paragraph, and that tells you what that ordinance is about. And it's notice, which means if anybody comes in here and reads this, they'll know what the city council has done, what that ordinance contains. That preamble language doesn't say anything about truck routes in it. All it says is we're going to put up some speed limits, and that's all. But then when they started listing the streets, they're in parentheses, they listed Mount Olive Road and Mansfield Road. If somebody asked me, is that effective designation? I would say probably not. It doesn't work because no citizen would have notice where to go to find designated truck routes. And that is probably why it didn't get picked up when the ordinances were codified. Because somebody looked at the preamble language and they said, okay. And that doesn't even reference, our new code doesn't reference this ordinance. It represents one before that, PD1. So what I'm suggesting we do is say, we didn't really designate street routes. That language was in there is surplusage, so there's not a designated street route or truck route in Reno right now. That will allow the police department to go out and start taking at least some warning, mandatory action, asking people to don't drive your trucks down the street. The other thing to consider is whether or not, if the route is such that they can't get to and from other than using city streets, is to require posting of a bond, a $10 permit, you post a bond. The form ordinance that I emailed you earlier today makes the bond good for like 90 days. And that way, if they're out there tearing up the streets, the city's not going to have to pay for it and then sue them. You just sue the bond. So that would be the remedy that I would suggest, is that we vote that, hey, there was not a designation of street route. That's just surplusage in that ordinance, which will allow the police department to go out and start warning people at least to stay off of it. And then decide if the remedy you want is to fix the ordinance where people are required to post a bond. The suggestion was $50,000 bond. A council person asked me earlier, was that per truck, per business? And you can make it either way. If it's individually owned, you can reduce the amount of bond a little bit. If it's a business and they're running 3 or 4 trucks, you can make it more and just issue one permit. That way, the police department, code enforcement knows who's supposed to be out there and who isn't.
I noticed
Some of those trucks are privately owned. I mean, they're not owned by a company, they're just individual driver trucks.
I noticed some of this, like the example with Sweeney.
Yes, Sweeney, Texas.
Yes.
I think that was a 90-day, the bond was good for 90 days.
That's right.
Was there any limit how many times it could be renewed or within a certain period of time? I
There
didn't see
was
that.
not, but you could put in there, you can only do it for, you can do it 2 times, 180 days. You could put a limit on the number of bonds, or the number of permits, I'm sorry.
In this situation, was this something we need to work on as far as develop, I guess?
Here's what I'm thinking. If the street's getting torn up, I would request that there be a vote that we don't have any truck routes.
Oh, absolutely on that.
So that,
But as far as going forward, a bond or whatever,
Right.
to remedy.
and I think there is an alternative route, and maybe a little bit longer, is that right?
Yeah, it's going
It'd be
further
probably
down 82 to
Madewell.
43,900
Madewell Road down there.
Madewell Road.
And that's what my next question was, that take this situation for example, if there is another access outside of the city, then would we, I would think that the only way we would grant an issuance of if we decide to do a bond, would be that would be the only access.
And
through the
that would
city.
be up to the permitting official, presumptively the city secretary, to come in and say, well, where are you going to be hauling to? Where are you going to be going to? Okay? And if there's an alternative route, you still need your
Was
permit.
not issued, that's, yeah. That was my
They could go all the way to 196, and it's made for trucks, you know?
They could.
I mean,
Come in
I don't matter how much the bond is, a truck's gonna tear the road up.
Well, and
Those roads
Madewell
ain't built
Road-
for trucks.
Maple Road's not that much further. If you look at where they're going, their destination, it's not that much further than what they're going right now.
No.
So
Maybe
that's
another
not,
mile, maybe another mile, maybe.
maybe, if that, I don't even think it'd be that, because
Yeah.
it'd be, it's just a big C is what they're making.
Is it a company that owns the pit or an individual?
Individual, as far as I know.
And if we did like the bond, how will we determine which owner-operator is responsible for the damage? So which
That's
bond
that's
go
another
out?
problem. That's the problem I see with the bond
Because
too.
I
How would you
see
do that?
there's at least 8 to 10
Yes.
owner-operators.
If they're independent owner operators, they have to have their own bond. Sorry, that's just the way that has to work.
But how will we
How do we know if we're going down?
Right.
damage?
You have to leave it up to code enforcement to find out. Or you can say, hey, hopefully you don't have 20 people out there driving up and down the highway.
You
This is kind of-
practically do right now, though.
This is kind of a unique situation, which could have been managed up front had we known about it. But typically, you're going to have 1 or 2 of those permits out at a time, so you'll kind of know who it is. And then, in the great history of litigation, everybody gets sued and somebody pays. That's the way that works. If somebody's out there and they're driving on that route, then you say, okay, the only people out here were these 2, so one of these 2 had to do it.
But it's just gonna come down to the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, it's gonna keep weakening, and finally the one's gonna cave in, and that's it. He's the one holding the
It's
bag.
not going to be a paved road anymore, it's going to be gravel. It'll just be down into asphalt.
You don't want those trucks with kids out there and everything. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Hey, we certainly need to do as the attorneys just have a truck route, period. We've come so far with our streets in Reno. There was a time 30 years ago that we had issues. We don't have those anymore. Pine Mill, Sugar Hill, you couldn't, between 82 and Pine Mill, you couldn't even get down it hardly. It was an obstacle course. So we don't need to allow that to happen again.
So if we take advantage of the no truck routes tonight, will it become enforceable tomorrow?
Yep.
So how would you enforce that? Would you
Just stop them. Initially stop trucks, let them know, and then probably go out to the dirt pit. And just let whoever's running it know, hey, no more through traffic with your trucks.
Or we have posting the
Just
signs?
signs.
No, there's presumptively, there's not a truck route unless it's posted. So that's the deal.
So it's kind of
Same thing with
like the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit in city streets.
Yeah.
So, do we need to put up a sign though? Just,
No,
Jeremy
we need to have a
shaking his
police
head,
officer out there.
well, I promise you, if you pulled over 3 of them
Yeah, the word will get around.
before
pretty quick.
lunch, that'd be it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it wouldn't take much. I think it'd take a trip out to the dirt pit.
Right.
Let them know, hey, alternate your route.
right.
So Pine Mill would be off limits too.
Every Reno street would be off. They'd have to go 82 all the way down to Madewell. I think it'd be the shortest route.
Well, if you
then
do,
the county's gonna have to deal with it, because then they'd be tearing up that county road out there.
you need to definitely,
Well, they're doing that now.
They're doing it now on Powell.
That's bad.
Just outside of city limits at Pine Mill Road, well, 42600 is just,
oh, it's all,
Well, the
it's
dirt
all,
pit itself is in the county, so
right,
should be a problem anyway, you know?
right.
and they just raise taxes to pay for roads, so.
There you go.
Yeah, they sure did.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we do follow the attorney's recommendation, would be to remove the truck route language or designation as NPDO 2 that states Mansfield or designates Mansfield and Pine Mill or Mount Olive as a truck route. Take that out, so which will leave no designated truck routes in Reno.
I second.
We have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy to redesignate truck routes in accordance of Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Traffic and Vehicles, Section 12.04.001, trucks bearing heavy loads, restricted parking trucks or trailers on street, and consideration of a bond to have no truck routes within the city limits of Reno, seconded by Councilmember Thomas. All in favor?
Well, before we vote on it, I got one more question. Do we need to put something in there for citizens of Reno that, let's say, drive trucks for a living, have a truck, that if you don't, then technically,
Yeah, that's a good question.
it's like Jack Nelson lives down the road from me.
No through truck routes.
Comes by every day,
So
and
the
he's unloading.
destinations in Reno, just no through truck routes?
Is there already an ordinance about parking?
There's already an ordinance about parking a trailer.
And the current ordinance has some exceptions for like emergency vehicles, and if people are doing construction in Reno,
Right.
if they're working here, if they're working for the city doing construction, there are those exceptions. It's a good point. I think that's covered currently, that if you work for a living and you pull that truck up there, then you could probably park it there.
Right.
But, and if you're driving an emergency vehicle, you're okay. And if you're doing work in the city,
Delivering furniture.
it's
Delivering furniture, because I know
Do you
Nebraska
think,
Furniture,
I
I
have
saw
a
they
real,
come through the other day, they got.
I have a real problem with an 18-wheeler parking in a neighborhood.
But isn't there already?
So
There's an ordinance already. for
there's
that.
an ordinance on
Yeah.
it.
that's not allowed. We've had those issues before.
Yep.
So that's,
And that's usually an easy knock on the door and they're gone.
But is
do we have
Is it for the
do we have an
trailer or
ordinance
the?
where that's,
Yeah.
do we have an ordinance where that's?
Yes.
Yeah, we've enforced that.
I thought we did.
Yes.
Yeah. I know you did, yeah. So what kind of truck then are we talking about somebody can drive?
Like a moving truck or furniture truck, so delivering something in Reno.
Somebody doing
Like around the corner on Pine Mill, that guy's
You know.
from Brandon's got trucks in his pasture
Anything
there.
designated
It's just
commercial,
like-
maybe?
If their
18 was it
destination to do
18,000
something in
pounds?
Reno, not just
Snap-on
through
tool
traffic,
truck
just
would be
driving straight
technically-
through.
Okay, well, but back where you have a guy that lives in a neighborhood in Reno and he's got an 18-wheeler gravel truck.
You know, he technically, he doesn't live in a neighborhood. He lives,
No, I'm just saying that he can drive, he can drive that 18-wheeler up to his house every night and park it on city street,
Depends on how big it is and what it weighs.
gravel truck.
He's not
well,
parking on the
he's
street,
got a big place.
but he is driving through.
He's
Yeah, the
saying
guy-
anybody.
the guy out there on the corner.
No, I'm just talking about generic, anybody.
But it shall
You
be
know what I'm
unlawful
talking
to
I
operate
know
a
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
There's been a couple other places too.
He'll straddle the
in
curb. Half of it's in the street and half of it's in his yard or in the right of way. And of course, you visited with him time and again, and the truck's not there. But so that's my question, do we have an ordinance that outlaws that?
It says, "It shall be unlawful to operate or park overnight any truck trailer in excess of 22,000 pounds on any street or right-of-way within the city." And then the 22,000 pounds is broke into, if the truck or trailer are separated, then the weight is that of each separated unit. If still combined, then it's combined weight. So that's in that 12.04.
When you got that going on, not only is it, I don't care if it is a citizen, you know, over time, it's going to weaken that street, and do damage to it. Then the situation that Matt knows of and that I'm talking about is when he parks half of it in the street, jumps the curb and parks the other half, then our water meters and our water lines are at issue there.
On the curb too, if it's jumping
On the
the
curb.
curb.
Jump the curb.
You can't park a car like that, can you? Half in the street and half in the yard.
Parallel with the
I don't
street.
think
can, but
There's some streets in Reno you have to.
Yeah.
Because they're about that wide.
But does that cover someone that drives a rock truck for a living from parking it in their yard, not on the street, but in their yard completely? They're not jumping a curb or anything. So that would be okay?
You still got to get to that driveway. He's gonna go down City Street to get to it.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
twice a day anyway, that truck's gonna be on that street.
If
If it
that's,
only has one, he's got 2 or 3.
if that's the case,
Yeah,
that person
that's
could,
right.
you could make that person have a permit and post a bond. If they're driving an 18-wheeler up there 360 days out of the year and parking on that street, in City Street, you could craft your next ordinance where, okay, if you do that for a living and you have up there, you have to get one of these $10 permits too, and you have to post a bond.
Looks to me like the best thing to do is just not allow it.
Yeah.
Instead of having bond. Because it's a recipe for a problem. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
because if somebody decides they can get if they are a rock hauler and they buy a house in Wellington Point, if a truck fits on their property,
They
they
can-
allow one, then you go.
They can foreseeably pull it right up
Yeah,
there and
you
park
can't
it.
say
Yeah.
anything.
They have to use a
Well,
city right away to get there.
and
So
that's an easy remedy, because you say if that truck's parked up there, it had to drive up there somehow.
That's right.
Who belongs to this? Let me see you for just a second.
Access to the street, to get to it.
The guy around the corner from you there, what, I don't even know who it is, but let's just use him for an example. He's got like 5-10 acres there, and he pulls his trucks up in there.
Trucks. Yeah. That's what I was asking.
I mean,
It's
that
not-
really wouldn't
He's been there forever.
Yeah, Jack
apply as a
Nelson.
neighborhood, I mean, in the neighborhood, but he still had to get it there, but I mean,
And see, he comes by and he's never loaded. He's either like a single truck or he's empty, like a flatbed. But I don't think that in itself is heavier than, let's say, a school bus that comes by every day.
no.
So,
Can we do a grandfather clause?
Well, for that, you could grant people specific variances. Somebody comes up there and they're doing that, and so long as they keep it under this weight load or they drive empty, you can give that person a specific variance.
Can you do that, but at the same time, before you grant that variance, have a hearing with any neighbors, property owners that are
You good? Yep,
affected by it?
Sure.
Within so many feet?
sure.
So
And if he
there,
operates outside the variance, it's still an ordinance violation.
like
Absolutely.
if he's loaded.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we've got to get to where we're going to protect our property owners and the value of their property. And nobody like Wellington Point, your
Exactly.
neighborhood, mine, anybody's, Tom's or Amanda's, wants to look out their window and see an 18-wheeler gravel rig sitting there in front of their front door.
right.
It starts
Beside
at
their
3 o'clock
house.
in the morning, runs for
Crank up.
Especially in the
that's
winter
right,
when they gotta
4 in
crank
the
it about an
morning.
hour early. Yeah.
So, these don't make good business to allow it at all. Too many places you can park an 18-wheeler and
So like, I mean, make sure I got this right. So as, like my neighbor, he'll just have to apply for a variance to continue doing what he's doing.
Right.
Is there a cost involved in that?
For
No,
variance.
For
no,
variance,
you just
no.
have to come up here and do it.
Yep.
So there's a motion and a second on those.
So we have a motion and a second on item J. All in favor? All opposed? Item K, fall cleanup for October 17th through the 18th, 2015.
I wanted to put that on there, Mr. Mayor, just to make the council aware that we're aligning, once again, the fall cleanup with the fall trash off. And I've already got several volunteers that have asked to help. We're going to clean up all the city streets in Reno. So we'll be doing the trash off on the 17th, but the city fall cleanup will take place all weekend.
And we can, is the fall cleanup 7 to 7, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.? And then we're done, so it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on that Saturday and Sunday.
Is this the same type of parish as ours, same dates? City of Paris?
I don't know if they are or not. I know it was the same at the spring, but I don't know for fall. The trash off will be starting at 8 on the 17th. They're noon, and then we'll have a hot dog dinner afterwards.
17th on a Saturday?
Yeah. On the website.
Make a motion to go ahead and hold
Item E.
Did you say hot dogs?
Hot dogs.
Did you say hot dogs?
I'm still working on that. Would y'all like to cook hot dogs?
Chief?
Yeah, here he is.
October 17th.
17th October.
Make a motion to clean up.
Okay. So I make a motion to schedule the fall cleanup, hold it for October 17th and 18th.
I second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Amanda Willows to accept the fall cleanup for October 17th and 18th, 2015, seconded by Councilmember Thomas. All in favor? Okay, we're gonna go back to item E. Mr. Blackburn's here now. Transfer ownership and maintenance of the Union Grove Cemetery to the city of Reno. How you doing, Mr. Blackburn?
Good, how are y'all?
Thank you.
All right.
Can you state your name and address?
Craig Blackburn, 2626 County Road 13200, Boston, Texas. They good?
Yeah.
Would y'all need anything else? Do what?
You're live.
I'm live. I mean, y'all supposed to ask me questions? I don't know, that's what they told me. Anybody have any
The
questions?
city attorney would be the one that would
about the
probably,
cemetery,
yeah, he's been.
Yeah, here's what I can find as far as deeds. The most recent deed to Union Grove Cemetery is 1919, and that's only like 2 acres or something over there. The rest of it was actually a land grant from the state of Texas to an individual, and that individual's died and his son inherited, and there's not a survey in any of that.
Right.
After you blow all the dust off of it and look at it and read the cursive handwriting, there's not a survey in there anywhere. Is there a survey or some other evidence of ownership of that property?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. It's been handed down.
Yeah, I know, yeah. It's always been there, and we're always been
Right,
very.
yeah.
The issue maybe for the city is to request that title be quieted before you get it. If there was going to be a title policy written on it, you'd want to make sure that even if somebody's giving it to you, if you're going to maintain it, you want to make sure that's done. And the way to do that is just to file a lawsuit to quiet the title and make sure that the Cemetery Association has it. I was concerned that it wouldn't be transferred to the Cemetery Association, but the part in 1919 was. The other part from a man named Evans, it just says he set up the thing out there and then he died and then his son got the land. And that's it. And then his son gave some more land to somebody else. So I can't tell from the meets and bounds description if that's the cemetery or part of the cemetery or all of the cemetery. And I don't know that you'd be ever able to track that down looking at deeds. I just don't think you'd be able to do it. So the way to do it, you'd file a lawsuit, and then anybody who might have an interest coming in, and then the court would say that title to that real estate is with the Cemetery Association. And then after they got that, they can transfer it to us. You can start the transfer process now, just understanding that we're going to have to get a title on the real estate.
We're going to get it all surveyed.
It would probably be a good idea to get it surveyed so that then I could look at the survey and maybe give that meets and bounds description to a surveyor, and that person could tell me, well, this part of it right here is covered, or maybe it covers all of it. but this part of it here is not. And the court's gonna want something like that too. They look at a document telling what I'm supposed to be doing, so yeah, it's gonna have to happen sooner or later. Right.
So the action that we need tonight is to get the title policy quieted.
Well, no, not the title policy, there's probably not gonna be, but we need the title to the real estate quieted, and in Texas, that's called a trespass. I didn't invent it, I'm just telling you. It's called a trespass, and you have to file that lawsuit, and it gets settled, and it's a 2 or 3 month deal. It's not, because we don't know who the heirs are, so you've got to post it in the newspaper, and then people are going to show up or not show up.
Well, how are the boundaries of the property going to be defined?
Well, it'll be defined in this lawsuit. We also probably need to get that thing surveyed. I've got one deed that has a meets and bounds description in it, but not a survey. So the surveyor can take that and look at it and figure out from the post in the ground out there what that covers.
How old is that?
1919. That's the most recent one.
19 what?
1919.
It'll still stand, don't worry.
Still standing.
1919 is the most recent deed.
I wonder.
It's hard to stop.
Because the cemetery goes from street to street there.
I do not know that. I mean, it does factually.
That's how it looks.
And I wonder if the church, because they're the only other property owner that's obvious, if they've had a survey done at the time that property was.
It's an interesting question. We talked about that the last time, about the possibility of that being something to acquire. The Cemetery Association was talking about buying that real estate in 1945 or 1950 from the minutes I can find, and they decided not to buy it. So I'm going to imagine that there is something down, isn't that Trinity Baptist is the name of that place? They probably have something up there.
They bought that property, as best I can remember, in the early 70s, 72, 73, something like it, built that church.
But there was a discussion, and they decided not to, and somebody said, well, it's too late because this church is already bought. But we need to do it. We need to do a survey, and we need to get the lawsuit filed, and after that, it's good to go.
The lawsuit for
The quiet the title. Quiet the title.
Now, can we just go ahead and start assuming ownership
You can
during this process?
You can
or
if you
do we
want
have to wait till it's
You
finalized?
can if you want to. The question is, who gets to fund the lawsuit? Is it the city or is it the cemetery association?
It shouldn't be that much though, should it? I mean, because it's more or less filing.
It's the filing and going down there after you've published it and saying, here we are and here's our documents. The expense is going to be the survey probably.
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But the survey would be a definitive boundary to the land.
Right.
No matter when the last survey was, this survey would be.
After the court weighs and wands,
Right.
this is a survey.
Right, and what you'd do is you'd present this survey to the court, saying, here's what we think, based upon this document, and this document. We think it's this right here. And if the middle of it is not covered in those deeds, you say, it's been that way forever. And Texas is one of those places where if you openly possess it, it's yours after a while. So there's ways to get this done. It's just doing it. And if you accepted the transfer today, the Cemetery Association's funds could fund the lawsuit.
And see, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And it's not going to be the lawsuit's not going to be expensive. The survey, that's the cost.
How long are we looking at here, you think?
2 months, 3 months.
So I would think that we need to go ahead and assume ownership of it.
Okay.
I would think, and then of course, immediately get the ball rolling on that.
I'm good with that.
We need motions on this.
Yes, you do.
I move, Mr. Mayor, that we go ahead and assume ownership of the Union Grove Cemetery, and with instructions to the city attorney to go ahead
Thank you.
and file a lawsuit to quieten the title and to get a survey of the cemetery.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Thomas to assume the ownership and transfer of ownership to of the Union Grove Cemetery to the city of Reno. Seconded by Councilmember Brandenburg. And get the city attorney to begin to quiet the title of the land and begin the survey process. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
You know,
You're opposed? Move on to item L. Modification of the City of Reno's Employment Policy Handbook, Attachment B, Compensation Plan. You can talk about it.
the modification would be to make the police department employees to be paid $12.50 a week on call so that wouldn't matter how many people are in the police department, and then the public works being raised to $62.50 a week. And this came up with two different interpretations, or somehow, I don't know how it came about for sure, but the interpretation in the minutes that I had found in the past had that the police department got $50 a week for 52 weeks a year, and then that was split between the officers in the department. And when the fifth officer came in, then that dropped it to $10 a week. And the chief's understanding was that the police department got $50 a month for on-call each officer. But we get paid weekly, and we've since talked about it. He still wants to stay with the $12.50 a week instead of going just $50 a month per officer, because we could do a $50 a month on call like we do license pay. But he wanted to stick with, he said the $12.50 a week per officer is the way that he looked at it. So with the set down between him and the mayor and myself, this is what is being proposed.
Why is there such a big difference in between the public works and the police department?
The police department, it's still $62.50 a week. The public works gets $62.50 a week, or right now, the public works gets $50 a week for on-call, and the police department gets $50 a week on-call.
Okay,
It's up to the department head to determine how they want to split that. If they want to give it, if Public Works want to split that $50 with all the Public Works employees, or they want to do it when they're on call, they get the $50 on-call pay.
Okay,
And the police department, back when Chief McCarthy came and said he would rather just have it across the board for all his people instead of trying to figure out, I want him on call this week, him on call, or split it. And that's what happened. So it was always $50 per week. There was never a month in there, but somehow there was a miscommunication in the hiring and knowing. So it came to light when the fifth officer came in, and it went to $10 a week instead of the $12.50.
Right. Which, while it was the assumption, and it's been paid in error, because there's really been no grounds for it on the part of the police department.
In the policy manual, and I don't remember, there was a few the council members still left in the policy manual meetings. And on the compensation plan, there wasn't anything in here for that. And there isn't anything in the policy manual that states the compensation for the on-call. But I talked to the attorney because it's always been paid. I mean, it's always been paid. So I don't know if it was an oversight in not getting put in here, if it had never been put in there, or if it was decided that they weren't going to get paid. But if that was decided, I don't recall that, and I didn't stop paying them.
It wasn't a policy,
That was
The only
when-
one that I ever found was
When I was with
back
the police
in
department.
2006.
policy or something on there, because that's what we, I mean, we used it to tell people what the policy was, I thought.
In
I'm gonna see it
2000,
somewhere short and sweet, but
the paperwork, I went back and looked at all the minutes, tried to find everything. The only paperwork that I found was back in September 5th of 2006, that it was put in the budget for $50 a week on call at 52 weeks, and it was budgeted. And that was the first time that the police department started getting that on-call for beaver pay.
2006.
Before that, the public works did. That was, September 5th of 2006 is where I found it broke down in the budget. So it was budgeted funds in that year, and then it kind of became, I guess, an unwritten policy, because it was in the budget, it was talked about, but I looked at every minute, I didn't see any action ever taken. There's action that was adopted in the budget, but there wasn't action, and it was never put.
That was when I started in 2008.
so how was it paid in error if it's in there?
Well,
And it was
now
budgeted
it would
for
be because, well, it was budgeted back in 2006, so I think it was, I mean, it had been paid, I talked to the attorney, and it had been paid because it had always been paid, and I think that it had been budgeted, but it was never put in the policy to pay that.
There was no council authorization that you found
That I
voting
could
to do
find,
that.
but-
When you look back, there was discussion, but you never found where it was.
Yeah, and that's what, to clean this up would be to, you know,
Even
put this in here.
that old PDO1, whatever cook we used to use, it was short and sweet. I could see it now. It was, I mean, it was like a sentence and that was it. You didn't see that?
No, I didn't see a PD in there, but it could have been because the council approves what amount of money the department head can, you know, use, and then they can determine how they want to distribute that.
Do the employees get time and a half for,
If they get called in, and they get time and a half.
so they get time and a half on top
So
of
they
it?
do get paid extra if they get called in.
If they get called in.
It just doesn't come out of that $12.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, you realize how good of a deal the city has.
Yes, $12.50 is a pretty good price to pay to have, know you got somebody that is obligated to answer the phone.
Okay.
Right.
Because that's what I was just sitting here just going, how? What if
And
you're on
that's
call
why-
3 days a week for
That's why-
$12.50?
Yes,
So-
and some days you're on call every day.
Okay.
Some days you're on call one day. I mean, it's just, it comes and goes. And I like doing it with all of the employees in my department, because we don't ever know when all of us may have to come to work.
Right,
And
right.
that's the whole catch to it. Public Works is a little bit different, where all them guys work 8 to 5. And you have to have somebody on call to cover nights and weekends. But we're here nights and weekends, 24/7.
And since they're compensated for being on call, they are required to answer the phone.
Yes.
And see, that's
Plus,
worth a
most of
lot.
them have take-home cars, and they all have city cell phones.
So that's a good mistake we've been having.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've been paid, and where the problem come in at, we've been paid since I've been here $12.50 a week, no matter whether we had 2 people, 3 people, or 4 people, steady. When we went up to 5 a couple weeks ago, it got decreased, and we didn't know why, and this is where all this come up.
And that's what because
Just an extra
Sergeant
$12.50 per
McCarthy,
week for one person.
Yes.
That's what it amounts to.
that's a
Thank you.
That's a
Well, that's way back to you,
flashback. That was
boy.
I just read it.
And
It does have it right.
each officer was budgeted, the budgets I've done since I've been here, each officer's been budgeted $600 a year on call pay built into their salaries,
Right.
which is $50 a month, $12.50 a week, however you want to split it, but it's been that. I don't
I
know.
still have to cut the hairs. $12.50 a week is not $50 a month. $12.50 a week is $54.17 a month.
You good with that?
I'm fine with it, as long as it's 12,
Because that's
as
what
long
we
as it's
always get paid, yeah,
$12.50
exactly.
per paycheck for on call from the police department goes back to where it was.
It should be $62.50 for a month.
$11.53.
All right, so what do we need to do?
It's gonna be $12.50 more.
In each department, yes.
Is it budgeted?
It's
Per month.
budgeted.
So we just need to put something in writing,
It's in
because that's how
writing.
it's
We just
always
need
been
it
done.
Yes, and that's
We
what's
just need
down at
to-
the bottom, we changed, and the only thing that changed on here was the public works employees that perform 24-hour duties will be paid $62.50 a week instead of $50. And then the addition of the police department employees will be paid $12.50 a week for on-call duties. And that's just what changed in the attachment B of the compensation plan. So that's just what needs to be adopted to be able to,
Down at the bottom?
yeah, because that's just all that changed in this document.
Yeah. So it doesn't come up again. What's primary call? Do we have secondary call? How much is that?
Yes, we have primary and secondary. In the Public Works Department, which we're going to have the policy manual meetings, but in there, their primary call gets $50 a week. And that's the primary. The secondary has a 2-hour minimum if they get called in secondary. They don't get any extra.
Is that written anywhere?
It's kind of, but the way that it's written, it sounds like even the primary call gets 2 hours minimum.
So
So
we
that
need
has
to
to
put
be
that in here,
addressed.
too?
No,
So we
that's in a
don't-
separate section of the, that's not on the compensation.
But should it be?
No, because it's the hours of coming in there. It's not really telling you how much you're paying, it's saying how you're paying it. So the other part of it is just explaining how you pay it. This is where it tells you how much you're gonna pay.
So we're good on that second?
Yes, on this one, yes. But then we're gonna have to have policy meeting, because there are a few things that we found in there. But then we had election, and we had,
I mean, it's got to be reviewed on an annual basis too.
yeah, it needs, yes.
For stuff like that, like this.
And this needs to be looked at, because I noticed in the documents that the chief had turned in for the budget, that he was looking at doing something with the compensation plan, and in order to do that, that's what
You
we
gotta
would
change
change
the
it.
plan.
Yeah, we'd have to have the meeting and do it and change it and get it updated.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the modifications to the City of Reno's employment policy handbook to include attachment B of the compensation plan. Police department employees will be paid $12.50 per week for on-call duties.
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Joy McCarthy to accept the modification of the City of Reno's Employment Policy Handbook Attachment B Compensation Plan, seconded by Councilmember Brendan Thomas. All in favor? All opposed? Item M, City of Reno's Electronic Surveillance Policy, effective date 11/11/13.
This item, it's another reading through the electronic policy. The committee shall meet no less than semi-annually and shall have responsibilities which include, and it goes all in there, this policy since 2013, the committee has not met, and there may or may not have been some changes to the electronic devices in City Hall back in July. And in reading here, it says the Security System Committee point of contact person is structured the chief of police, but I don't know if that's who's supposed to be getting these meetings together of all of us.
Well, somebody has.
Somebody had to be doing that.
I tried to read it to find out where it says, and I don't know, but the people on the committee are the mayor pro tem, the chief of police, the city secretary, and the city attorney. So,
All y'all dropped the ball.
I wasn't on it. I'm not on it.
Well, you were last year.
So there were, in July, there were some changes made or some,
there might have been, there was somebody that was out, and the advanced alarm was up in the attic. And
Don't we
doing some
usually
things.
discuss this stuff in executive session?
I don't know if you
Anything
want to go to
security
executive.
stuff? I mean, what was done?
If it's security, we can go to executive
Or
session.
surveillance, I mean.
only thing that was done in July was the camera that was in the mayor's office that was put in there for an interview room way back in the day was taken out. What was put up in there was the view of the cameras that used to be in the chief's office went dark. And they had to trace back to find out what was wrong and what they had to do. I send to your feed, that way both of us can see. That's the only thing that's done.
But that was something that we need to have the meeting to.
If that electronic surveillance policy is adopted in 2013 and the new policy book is adopted in 2014 and it's not included in the new policy book, it's still policy?
I think it is because it was enacted by the city council instead of the
It's a
committee.
separate, yeah, it's not.
I tried, when the previous mayor was here, I tried 2 or 3 times to get a meeting set up and it was never done.
Okay, well, that's why we just need to
Well, there's
have a meeting.
others on the committee besides just him. I don't
Right.
remember any issue of trying to have a meeting, so.
So do you need a meeting to
We need to
discuss
have-
what you did in July? Is that what you need?
I'm telling
And
you.
do
We just, it says
I'm
we're supposed to have
telling
one
everybody right now what I did.
semi-annually. We just need to have one, because it says in here we're supposed to
Is
have.
this by
one
law that we have to have this?
This is an
Or is this
ordinance, no, this is just a City of Reno's electronic surveillance policy that the council adopted in 2013.
So
So
why
this
is it
is a
here?
policy that we're supposed to, why is it what?
Why is it here? I mean, what are we talking about with it? I mean, is there an issue with it, or I don't understand why we're
The
even talking
issue
about it.
is we need to have a committee meeting, apparently, and we need to find out who is going to do that, because nobody, he said he's tried to a couple times.
Who's gonna
And
call
I
the
didn't
meeting?
know.
You
Yeah.
want the
it
authority
said
to call the
who's gonna-
meeting?
And did you even know there was a surveillance policy?
No.
So it's
then
just a
what's
good
the
thing for
meeting?
everybody to know
Okay.
that this is here.
I agree, but do we-
That we all, that we have
meeting
one.
A meeting about it.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's, so everybody's aware that there is a policy.
There is a
and-
policy because of historical issues in the past here in City Hall. And that's why there's a policy exists today.
Yes. Because back, was it last year you found something? Whatever that was.
It goes back
Goes
way
back.
longer than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it goes back way. Well, no, but when was it during the remodel? Something was.
Yeah, there was stuff in the
Something like
remodel that was
that?
found.
Yeah.
But there was stuff found clear back in what, 2007, 2008, but there was,
Well, what's wrong with just having it on the calendar, scheduling it twice a year, and say we're going to have a meeting here, and then if something comes up, have a special meeting, and say we need to specially meet that, because you're right, the actual factual matters should be discussed in executive session, but the procedure to get the thing set should be, let's do one in July, and let's do one in January, and here's the dates.
Just meet once a year like we do with the other policy.
it says in here semi-annually. I didn't adopt it. I'm just reading it, I didn't adopt it or.
And is this something that y'all couldn't sit down and just do without putting it on the agenda?
Well, like
Since
he
it's
wasn't
already
aware
set
there
out.
was a policy. I mean, it's just nice to bring it to everybody's attention that this policy is in existence and what.
Is it something we need to set for like an executive session?
If there's anything that's going to be changed, that I think that it comes out of there, it would have to, but this is just going to be for the committee, for the mayor, the mayor pro tem, the chief of police, the city attorney, and myself.
Was this put into play just for like, make sure one person wasn't playing Big Brother, more or less?
Well, yeah, you got to, if there's anything that's changed or
Okay.
put up there, it
See,
needs to be.
I mean, I'm ignorant on it. I don't know what it's really for.
That's more or less what was going on before, I think.
Yeah.
Way
I
back.
do think we do need to have a process in which, even if we meet twice a year, and if it's on a calendar or whatever, we do need a process in place as far as how a meeting is called for an update, if there, or such as happened in July, if there's issues that need to be addressed, so the committee is aware of what, that sort of thing. Because this says that nothing's supposed to go on, change unless the committee authorizes it.
You brought it before the council to approve that purchase,
There was no purchase. It was just moving the existing stuff.
the siege stuff and the locks,
Well, there's-
keypad.
The keypads were brought from the county,
So we all knew it.
No, it wasn't brought from the council because it was under $1,500.
So do we need to go ahead and put either you or the chief
Thank
over.
you. Yes.
Right.
Who's gonna
That's what
call
we need
this?
to-
Yeah, who's gonna be
One of the
in charge of
others.
this committee, or the
If I'm the
mayor?
one that's supposed to be doing it, I'll do it.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. The mayor
what it
can
says
go
in
to
here.
meetings and everything, but it says they'd be the first to contact, so.
I think that it would fall underneath more or less the chief
I think so.
because of the, being security. So. All right.
Okay, do we need a motion on, okay.
Only if you want somebody to come back in the year and say, who hadn't called the dang meeting? Hey, that guy was there, they're supposed to do it. It's interesting.
Just set a meeting, I mean, just.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I move that we place police chief over the City of Reno Electronics Surveillance Committee with duties to call the meeting biannually.
Semi-annual.
Or is it semi-annual? Or when needed, in case of a change.
I second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Thomas to designate Chief Birch as over the city. Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Thomas to designate Chief Birch over the City of Reno's electronic surveillance policy, seconded by Councilmember Tom Brandenburg. All in favor?
Discussion, Mayor. This is, I think we're giving the chief of police authorization to call a meeting. It's his responsibility to call the meetings when one's needed. The wording, as far as he's over this committee, I don't know, or having authority over the committee is the right wording for this.
What does it state, who's over these meetings?
Did I just state that he's just appointed
Well,
to,
I think the mayor's and his interpretation there, what he's saying.
It says a point of contact person within the city structure shall be the chief of police, so point of contact when the city's over.
Yeah.
Well,
My other concern is, do we need to address that who else can call a meeting in the event, for whatever reason, the chief of police does not want to call one? That two members of the committee can call a meeting.
It's a good idea.
Now, that's splitting hairs, but things can happen. And they have procedures in place that,
well, if you are trying to prevent Big Brother, I guess you're right.
so, just a thought. I'm not saying Chief Birch would, but whoever it is.
So,
in the event that Chief Birch couldn't be there, he could fall in rank to Sergeant Massey.
Not, my thinking would be chief of police, or you have two meetings, two members of the committees that could call a meeting, whether it be the mayor and the city secretary.
The mayor can be.
Mayor and the mayor pro tem, the attorney and the mayor.
Two members of the
The secretary and the attorney.
You and the mayor might
here's what my
come back.
recommendation would be, is to put all that in here. The rules, who can call a meeting, instead of just, because this could change next month. So my recommendation would be just to redraft this and include everything we want in it, then vote on it.
Great idea.
Good idea.
Somebody.
Then that way, we don't have to do this again. You'll draft it? Thank you very much.
Would you withdraw your motion?
Yeah, it's like the attorney would be the one that would be
but if you want
the... Yeah, the attorney should draft.
Thank
I think the attorney should draft.
Yeah, I think the attorney should draft it
Oh,
too.
we can sit down together. We
Want
can
to
have a
withdraw
coffee
your
and get it
motion?
done.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I rescind my previous motion.
Okay, on item M, we're going to table this for now until the city attorney can draft the proper wording
We'll table it to the next meeting.
and we're going to present it at the next city council meeting.
Anything else?
Move on to item N, bids for radio red meters.
All right. This is just the start point, basically, to go out to bid. We do have one official bid that we got initially. Now we need to go out, we just need to get the council to go out and get bid. Our engineers worked up, I'm working on a bid package, putting that together for the last couple of months. They were ready to, they had that ready and they were ready to proceed. They just asked if we bid, we put it on the council to actually go out for the bids. So I guess that's all we're really asking tonight is to be able to go out for the bids.
Is everybody aware what this is, right? What radio reading? Okay.
I thought we were already done on that.
I was thinking the same thing.
What do we
You
do
went
next
to
time?
move forward with the project, and so then that got the engineer working on getting all the documentation and ready for the bid, and to do so to move forward with it was the last, but now this is the step that we're at for the bidding of the
That's
actual.
what we've been waiting on, just for the engineer to put the complete bid package together so we can bid exactly what we want to bid.
And he put the bid packet in the mail, so we should be getting the packet. And there are a couple items that have changed, but that will come up at the next meeting after the bid come in. Right now, it's just going out and getting the bid.
Was it all, did we approve those funds during this budget?
No, those funds, it's going to be, what we're looking at is they will finance it and there won't be a payment in the first year. And so then we'll be looking at, so we haven't got to that point yet. We have to get the bid and then do, and we aren't to that step
It'll be
yet.
financing options.
So then we'll have to look at and see what the best way to finance it will be. But this is just getting to find out. This is the next step.
Mayor, I make a motion that we authorize Jerry Rivas, our utilities supervisor, to proceed with the bid process for radio read meters.
I second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Rick Jordan to authorize Public Works Director Jerry Rivas to begin to get bids for radio red meters, seconded by Councilmember Brandon Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item O, travel expenses for elected officials, mileage, and per diem for future conferences and schools.
This is another cleanup. Back on September 29th, 2014, there was a motion made, and it was for travel rate elected officials for mileage and per diem, but the actual motion was, it left the mileage out. The rates are going to change, which I put that in there, which we have state rates, so that's just for council's information. Because they'll change October 1.
So the only worry that was left out was mileage on there.
Yeah, and when we have our audit, they will ask for, when they see the things that have been spent out of there, they'll ask for, where do you have authorization to do this? And so then you go and get
What the
it,
state does,
and you put it in there. And so we just need to clarify
Can I ask, is the per diem just a flat rate, and am I expected to bring you receipts in from where I eat if I do?
No, it's the state rate, and so the meals for in-state, out-of-state, up until September 30th of this year is $46 per day. And we've always split that between meals. If you leave at noon, you get one meal, and then if you come home by supper, then you get 2 meals that day. And then, starting October 1, it's gonna go to $51. And then the mileage is 57.5 cents. And then it also had in there the per diem and then the reimbursement for all fees, which was tolls and parking and all the required fees that you have to have. And that's okay, but in this motion, there wasn't the mileage, it just had per diem, and I don't know if you want to have the, it has, the state calls it travel reimbursement rates, so I don't know if you want to do, use the state travel reimbursement rates for mileage and meals and pay all other, the wording like that, and then pay all other fees that are acquired, accrued at the school, that are related to the schools if you have.
State reimbursement rate would be for per diem and mileage. Right, you cover both.
Yeah, that's the meals and, the per diem is for meals and mileage, and then you have your lodging. It's kind of the way I say it's just travel reimbursement. I like that better than just per diem. It's travel reimbursement for meals and mileage instead of per diem, because per diem is, what's per diem, what is that?
Well, that covers everything.
Yeah, but so then
It's a certain flat rate for money for meals and lodging.
But we do the state rate for, and the lodging we've never addressed. We've always tried to get the lodging in the facility, in the hotel or conference center or wherever. We try to do the best to get the closest to it instead of just $85. So that's never been, which I guess that's never been addressed. I mean, because we always just do the lodging. Yeah, that's another one that's going to come up saying, where did you?
Lodging arrangements are usually made up by the staff beforehand. Okay.
So we just basically need to adopt state across the board for per diem minus lodging, but let the city handle lodging, pay for lodging, like you just said we do.
Look at the attorney down there.
Yeah.
Well, I've done it a bunch of different ways. Sure. I mean, some people, you don't get paid if you don't give them the receipts. They don't pay you ahead of time. The other way, they give you the money, expect you to come back and settle up. Other ways, they just say, here's your money. Eat wherever you want to, but that's all I'm paying for. So.
So we just need to add the mileage in here? Is that all we need to do?
Needs to be addressed.
So,
How did we do it when we went to that conference in July?
We just wrote it out there and gave it, but then in looking and clearing things up, because I've been trying to look at all of our policies and look at all of our stuff and get everything lined out, and this came up that says, oh, well, it was in the actual,
we discussed it, we didn't make a motion for it.
yeah, the motion just didn't get made, because, yeah, it's in the actual agenda item. It says to discuss travel rates and for elected officials for mileage and per diem. And I guess they're the per diem, because if you're saying mileage and per diem, we're saying per diem's just For the food.
Food, that's understanding, is per diem's food.
Yeah, so that's
If
it.
you add the lodging to it. But normally per diem would include the lodging.
But then it goes on to say,
State rate on that.
but then it goes on to say that the council will be reimbursed for required fees, tolls, and parking, and I think that would be part of the per diem. But you aren't gonna know how much the fees and tolls and parking and everything are until they bring receipts back, because that would be it. If you go to a school and I take something and I end up taking a lot of toll roads and I have receipts, but somebody else drives a different way around, you know, so I bring receipts in and request for my toll to be reimbursed.
Some may use valet, some self-park.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion effective immediately. We will pay the per diem rate for council members as well as the state mileage rate of the current per diem rate of state, I guess. Is that how it's just?
Adopt the travel reimbursement rates for
Question.
mileage and meals.
Question. I see it was left out before. You mentioned council members, Joey. Here it says council members, elected officials. Do we need to include this in city staff?
I think it's in the employment policy.
It's covered
Yeah,
there.
the travel's covered in there.
Good, I mean, it's
This
good
is just
idea.
for elected officials.
Yeah, this is for the elected officials. yes.
So it's already in there for the city employees.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy to accept the travel expenses per diem plus mileage for future conferences and schools. Seconded by Councilmember Jordan. All in favor?
Discussion. Is that what we needed? Speak
Well,
now.
I know,
Do
because
it
it kind of
again.
leaves out all of the reimbursement for the fees, tolls, and parking.
I mean, but that's already
But
in
that's
there, right?
part of the per diem, yeah, that's in there, so. I know, look back at him again.
Well,
If it's already in here, do we just have to
I would
have
like
the
for per
mileage?
diem to be what you're eating. And
Okay.
anything else that you spend out of your pocket, the receipts for toll and parking, you bring them in here and say, look, this is what I spent out of my pocket, and I need that back. So per diem is food, lodging's arranged by the staff, mileage is paid for at the state rate, and if you spend other money, you bring a receipt for it, because if you don't, it's a donation. Does that sound good?
Can we get that motion out of there? I can get that out of there?
Somebody can say what he said.
Okay, say that, somebody.
What he said.
What he said. Say what he said. Did we get the correct motion?
She got it.
I say what you said.
Okay, thank you.
As a motion.
Okay, got it.
Well,
Make sure we're on.
we have a motion by Councilmember McCarthy to say what he said.
Absolutely.
Seconded by
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan. And all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item P, creating a parks, trail, and/or cemetery committee.
There's nothing magic to this. I researched it and I checked the TML. There's no magic statutes about this. Set it up however you want it. You can, how many ever members, who appoints them, what their procedure is, who they report to, that's all up to you. So you can combine them, you can separate them, you can do it however you want.
Mayor Pro Tem brought up a point, and the more I've thought about it, the more I have to agree. I think personally that we should separate, because especially with the Reno Cemetery, when we start contacting family members, they may want to be part of the cemetery committee, but they may not want to be part of the trail and park. So I think we need to separate those two. That's just my opinion.
I agree. I think you need a cemetery committee and you need a park committee.
So I'm really hoping we can get some family members involved.
The only thing is, though, you got to remember, now it's two extra committees that we have to find
It's true.
10 people for instead of just 5.
That's true.
That's what the hard part is.
Right. I agree.
I mean,
And the Parks and Trail Committee is the separate, then, that would be the city committee, that, with the city funds that are in the budget.
Right.
Oversee those, okay.
And you might, I don't know, you said 10, so that means 5 on each one. Or you might want to do 3. You know, the cemetery may be 3 committee. I mean, if you get 5, great, but you may need to start out with 3. How many you can get, you know. You do need an odd number, no doubt.
Right.
Right.
But
Well, if one person had the passion to do something and couldn't find 2 more people, you can't punish that person. So, I mean, the committee could consist of however many, there's no limit.
Because anything the committee's going to do, it's going to be an advisory that will come back to the council for final
Correct.
approval.
But these are going to be like official committees, though. Correct.
There's different,
Said
like
you can
the
do it however you
P&Z
want it.
has-
Where they take minutes.
You can do it, yeah.
they would be answerable to the council.
Right.
This, it seems to me, if we need to have, I guess when we get the budget process out of the way, we need to have policy procedure update. It's maybe like a workshop, and this might be something that in that workshop we can talk about ideas on how many and who. Not that we need to do that at the next meeting after, council meeting after that, but we can kind of get some ideas on how to form this committee instead of having to sit here and try to figure it out. That's just a thought. And that way, hopefully in the next month anyway, have that for the next council meeting. It might be November's meeting before we're ready. You didn't get, you know, I think it takes some thought.
Right. Yeah, I think that every council member ought to appoint someone to the board or commissioner, whatever we want to, call it. Nominate someone to sit on it. And to me, that would be the easiest thing.
Well, can we just ask them if they want to serve on both?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? I mean, I have no problem separating. I mean, that'd be fine. I understand, like you said, some might want to do this and some might want to do that. Some might want to do both. If they want to do both, they can do both. And when I say that the council members have to appoint someone, they can appoint themselves. It doesn't matter. It's just,
Sure, yeah, you can.
yeah, just one.
You looked funny. You looked like you made a, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no.
Wait a minute, you made a funny look. You turned it on. You made a funny look. You kind of went, and you looked at him, so.
No, it's okay.
Okay. I didn't know, as long as you didn't, but do you have 3 or 4 council members on the same committee?
You can. It's like being on the crime commission. You just got to understand that you vote here one time, and you take your hat off, and you come in here the next time and go, okay, did we want to prove what we just did? I mean, it's that kind of deal.
Yeah.
And you get limited input that way. It doesn't involve other people in it. It's just us doing the same old stuff again and again. And
What I can see putting them together is you might get a group of people that are passionate about the cemetery and the Parks and Trail go to the side, or you get somebody, a group that's real passionate about Parks and Trail and the cemetery gets pushed off.
It's kind of a catch-22, because we could have it all together to try to have enough people, but at the same time, people may be more reluctant to join because they're not interested in the other. See what I'm saying? So it's a tough one. That is a tough one.
You could, as Brandon said, you could have the same, you may have somebody who wants to be on the cemetery committee and want to be on the parks committee as well. No problem there. It's just the
Right.
committees ought to be separate. Because you may have some folks say, I'll be on the cemetery, but I don't want to be on the park, or vice versa.
And I can see that too, because you would have the funds for the cemetery on this side, plus you have the funds for the park over here.
Trying to keep it
And
all
it's going to be
separate.
totally different on how, on the
But
spending.
that still really wouldn't matter, because it'd still come back to council for approval, so,
It's hard.
yeah, see, one half dozen of another.
When you start one way and then see how it works out. If it doesn't work out, then you better go the other way.
Right, so,
That's my chair.
So do we need to go ahead and approve creating parks and trail and a cemetery board tonight, and then say by the next council meeting that everyone has to have someone appointed for these two
Nominated.
seats, or nominated?
One board or two?
What? For two boards?
Or one of the...
Everybody's going to have two people, or one person, they can do themselves, or two people, or however. But two seats need to be nominated by each individual on the council.
So the idea is to go out and find somebody to serve on the board.
There you go.
Do we want to write it, how we're going to do this, and bring that back and approve how they're going to do it,
that's what
and then
I think.
move forward instead of do it and then try to figure out how you're going to do it? Because we have the street commission when it was formed and how it was formed and why it was formed and what they're going to do and how they're going to run the meetings and, you know, and then you have the planning and zoning, which is more by statute. I mean, they have a lot more.
I feature both of those could happen at the same time. In 30 days, you guys have somebody ready. In 30 days, we kind of have an outline for what it's supposed to be like.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
There we go. And then,
I think we have to have it.
so we would need a motion for everyone nominating someone, and also for separation of the two, plus how we're going to, I guess, start it.
Like a bylaws thing. Here's what it's going to do.
Right.
Here's your authority, and here's what you
What
have to do.
the purpose of, let's say the cemetery committee, the purpose of that
Right.
committee, what their purview is where the cemetery is concerned.
Sure.
The maintenance, the different issues there.
And the terms, how long, all that business. Yeah.
Right.
Park.
And same way with counting the parts. And then I think that once everyone's appointed to it, then that committee needs to elect a chairman for it. So,
Yeah, because in the parks, and that's the same, because there would be grants and things that that committee could work on, you know,
Right.
when they're available to move.
Got a motion?
so. Okay, I make a motion to create a Parks and Trail Committee and a Cemetery Committee with all members of the council. Now, would this include the mayor also? Yes.
People you want on it.
Well, it would, including the mayor, nominate someone to sit on each one of these committees. They can either nominate themselves or someone else. And also, by the next meeting, we need to have it set up where we would have more or less the bylaws of how the committees would be ran for both of them. Anything else I missed?
Question.
You have to, can you question?
As far as developing into these bylaws, who's going to be involved in doing that?
That was gonna be mine, but I was waiting for the second before I started talking. I was like-
That's your question?
So I was gonna ask, after one meeting, but we don't have a second.
Because-
Second with the motion.
Okay, I'll wait for the second, I'm sorry.
Like, 'cause I wanted to ask, kind
You can
of,
ask it then. I'll withdraw what my question.
I'll second.
okay, my question was gonna be, is it the,
We have a motion by Councilmember Thomas to create a Parks and Trail Committee and a Cemetery Committee separately, with each nominating a member by the next meeting, including the mayor, and having bylaws and a specific purpose for the committee.
okay, and my question was going to be on setting the bylaws. Do you want the meetings ran, not like a committee, more as a board, where you do have the minutes, it's on the website, you
yes.
do everything. If they want to talk about something, they go into executive, they're not closed. They can't lock up and have it someplace else. They have to come in and sit here,
Right,
have it the way.
Right, open, all of it open meetings.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we're dealing with taxpayers' money and things of that nature, I think it needs to be that way.
Yeah, well, when,
And just,
I can see, yeah.
so.
It was seconded by Councilmember McCarthy.
Go ahead.
But the only question is developing these bylaws and these, the parameters here. Who's going to be doing that during this next 30 days?
They got in early.
A lot of it we could probably do.
My
like
question
your
then
street.
is, should we, David, maybe say for the November meeting instead of for the October meeting?
I may be here in October.
Yeah, he's probably going to be here probably in November.
Let me look real quick. No, October, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All in favor? All opposed?
Another question, is that, so then you're going to appoint like a secretary within that board, you'll want somebody to come and do everything?
From the city, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I figured that ought to be in the bylaws. Well, I'd have figured that would have been in the bylaws whenever we made it.
All right, why?
Quarterly meeting probably.
Okay.
I would think a monthly.
Yeah.
All righty.
Item Q, update on Reno Cemetery located behind 6545 Lamar Road.
Do you have any update?
Just that we're at the time, I sent everybody an email, 212 in the queue. So, which we expected, it's going to take a little while to get the historic designation. So
How long did they say that?
take up to a year,
I think they say 212.
take up to a year.
Hurry up and wait.
But it's going to be well worth it. It's going to be well worth it. So like I said, they have funding available to help with restoration and preservation and all that good stuff, so.
What all, they don't need anything else?
No, they have everything, we're just in line. Apparently there's lots of these.
No action on item Q. Item R, set time and date for annual evaluations for the city secretary, police chief, and city attorney.
When have we done these in the past? From
9 o'clock tonight.
There's no set time.
They say they're going to do them in August.
All right.
When did we do the last one?
November, I think, last year. November.
I mean, since we got this other stuff going, somebody mentioned doing the policy and procedure update. Y'all want to all do it all in one night?
We could do that. I think that'd be a good idea. Policy and
Compensation
procedure.
plan, get all that wrapped up in one night. One meeting,
City,
instead of having different meetings.
basic city business, kind of.
So when you want to have it?
I'm free most of the time, so I got a pretty open schedule.
When is the October meeting? What's the date on it?
Calendar's right there.
It's 12th. So, what night can we meet on? Monday nights are taken up? Or Tuesday nights?
The city open on the 12th?
There's the 12th.
Columbus Day.
Chloe?
No, we're here. The 19th would be open on Monday. But you have street and P and Z. September, I'm not going to be ready for the policy manual one because I've got end of year and getting ready for the new budget and, I mean, just it's just like,
When could you have
You could have
the
those.
policy ready? manually?
if you did it on October 19th, I could have it by then, but, and, well, the attorney, yours is the
The
20th.
20th is my cutoff day.
Yeah, so you could do the 19th, but then.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Do you mind if y'all could email me?
Yeah, email me too, please. The Thursday, because Thursday's not good. What's the
What
best
day is
for
Thursday on?
15th?
One of those Thursdays, I'm going to be in Dallas, and last couple of them in October, 2 or 3 of them.
How about the Tuesday after?
The 13th, after the regular council meeting, Tuesday the 13th?
You've got 2 nights in a row, back to back.
When did we do them last year?
And we'll be up here
November, I believe.
Midnight Tuesday.
What's wrong with doing
What's wrong with what?
it? Doing it in November?
Is the only thing we're
You know.
gonna hold up everybody else's raises because they did last year.
What's that?
They did last year.
Everybody got their cost of living on their,
Everybody got their cost of living.
But they're merit raises.
They're merit. So that's the question this year. Is that gonna hold up anything for anybody else? Our
I thought they
evaluations?
got their merit. They didn't, no, they didn't, did they? No.
Nope, they didn't get it till,
Like January or November, December. Yeah.
Why?
I wouldn't think so because the council approved that it's across the board raise, that it doesn't, there is no merit.
That's what I'm
So
wondering.
it's not gonna hold up anything because it's just across the board. There's no merit. So no, October 1, it will be 8%.
Like you said, that'd be immediate, wouldn't it?
Right.
That's what was approved. So no, that won't.
It's gonna, shouldn't be a factor there.
No.
that's an issue I saw.
Nope, that'll do.
Given that from last year.
What,
So we're looking at the 15th.
Looking at the 13th, well, maybe, or the 15th, if anybody, well, you don't know.
October the 15th? I can't be here.
You can't be here. When can
I'll
you?
be racing from the 15th through the 18th. in
Okay, down
Ennis.
here. What about the, why were we out on the 19th? Oh, because,
Could be here on the 19th or the 5th.
How about somewhere in the 5th and the 9th?
Man, that's right after the first two.
yeah, it's just, that's
November.
just like, yeah, October 5th too.
Well,
I thought we said something about the 13th.
well, you
Well,
wouldn't have
does
to be
a
here for
Wednesday,
that.
does
though,
that affect-
probably.
Church, you go to church on Wednesday? You don't have to be here, is that what you said?
Oh. Okay.
Then I'm going to chief school too,
Right.
between the 5th and the,
Well, I didn't know if we were just going to be.
take all that.
I didn't know if we were going to be talking about it or everything, but, okay.
About 13th.
well, yeah, because I don't think I ever got called in last year. That got done and it was done. Well, you want to set it for the 13th? That's a new day. I'm just going to make it there. The 13th at 5:30? I was trying to say
October 13th.
13th and 5 together. 15th.
we got two in a row, 2 back to back.
That date's ringing a bell.
What's wrong with the 19th?
I don't think I can be here.
Oh, that's right. You looking at
Okay,
November?
Saturday at noon on the 17th. We'll all be here and have pizza.
Where from?
Sounds good to me. I'll be in Ennis.
Oh, that's right.
Can we have it in
Write
Ennis?
this on.
Yeah, we want to go.
What day
Can we
you
have it in
leaving?
Ennis?
How about like
You leaving that day?
how about the 5th? Anyone got a problem with the 5th? That's the first Monday of the.
He's going to be going to school.
Okay,
I still ain't heard a problem with the
November.
13th.
I don't have, I don't care.
Have it on
Day
what?
after the council meeting, 13th. Or we can have it on the 12th. Council
The
meeting.
night of the council meeting, just after, because maybe we won't have a big, we can plan it for that, and then if it's
Do it on
huge and
12.
runs till 10 o'clock, then we can postpone it to
Be the same night.
Matt, you need a hall pass for the 5th? For the 5th?
I mean, if y'all need me here for my evaluation, man, fine.
Dream on.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it on the 12th. We'll just stay here all night.
Yeah,
We'll
sounds
be
like a
here.
plan to me.
No, if we do it, I mean, we do all our stuff before the 12th, we won't be here all night. I mean, we get which ones we want to do and don't have to go through the different forms and all that
Okay,
stuff.
let
Just
me
want to
ask
send out the
this.
forms that you had last year?
If we did it after the council meeting, when would any changes we have go into effect?
What changes?
What, any kind of, I don't know. I mean, would that be something that we have to wait until the next council meeting?
No, it's pretty
To
much
approve?
immediate when
I mean,
you approve them.
All the policy changes are.
Oh, doing the policy
Right.
that night. No, you could go through them, you could have a workshop and work them up, and then like, we could bring them back once they're written in there, and then you can adopt it at the next council,
Oh.
whenever.
Okay.
We can just do evaluations on 12th because we do all the other stuff on top of the regular stuff. We will be here all night.
Okay, so just do the evaluations on the 12th, wait and have a meeting for the,
Policy and procedures and the compensation plan and all that later.
okay, was it only the policy and procedure, or was there something else that we're gonna do too?
Compensation plan?
Security,
That's what, the security policy.
security issues there and the call meetings and all.
Yeah, the surveillance policy was tabled to the next regular meeting, right? So it'll be on.
Yeah, so that's already gonna be on there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything to do with the park committee, because that's the next meeting. So the only thing it is the policy manual. Okay, so we'll just have, all right, clear that on the 12th, we're gonna add. So I'm going to add to the next agenda the evaluations and add an item to set time and date for the policy workshop at the next meeting. Okay.
We're setting the time and date for evaluation. Plus time and date for the policy workshop for 10, 12, or 15. Item X, consent item, discuss, take action on A, monthly bills and purchase orders for August 2015. Minutes for August, B, minutes for August 2015 city council meetings. Item C, financial update as of August 31st, 2015. And D, monthly activity reports for August 2015 from I, Police Department. 2, that's 1, Police Department, 2, Public Works Department, and 3, Reno Volunteer Fire Department.
Mayor, I move to approve A through D and 1 through 3, item number 10.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Thomas to approve items A through D and items 1 through 3, seconded by Councilmember Jordan. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? This meeting is adjourned, 8:05 PM.